The Celtic otherworld is a place of wonder. It exists just beside our own familiar landscape. People have given it many names throughout history. The Irish often called it Tir na Nog, the land of youth. The Welsh sometimes named it Annwn. It is a place where the gods make their home. It is also the realm of heroes and the wise ones who came before. Many of our most enduring stories have their roots in this magical hidden land. It is not a heaven above or a hell below. It is a parallel world, a reflection of our own, filled with magic, timelessness, and a deeper, more vibrant life force. The otherworld is not a single, easily defined location. It is many places all at once, shifting and elusive. Sometimes stories describe it as a beautiful island far across the Western Sea. In other tales, it is a shining plain that appears where a normal field once stood. The otherworld was known by a chorus of beautiful and evocative names. Each name captured a different facet of its mysterious character. Tir na Nog, the land of youth, was perhaps the most famous. Time flowed differently where aging ceased and eternal vibrancy reigned. Another name was Mag Mell, the plain of delight. Endless feasting, music, joy, free from sickness and death. These names were not just poetic descriptions, they were promises of a reality beyond mortal hardship. It was a land of shimmering light and intoxicating beauty. Some stories called it Tir Tarn Gir, the land of promise, destiny, prophecies fulfilled, and the true nature of things revealed. The Welsh tradition had its own names. Annwn, the very deep, sometimes ruled by Arran, a place of magical treasures and solemn duties. These varied names show the otherworld was not monolithic but a rich tapestry of hopes, fears, and dreams. The gods who dwell in the otherworld are a vast and varied assembly, each with their own domain and personality. They are not a single, unified pantheon like Greek or Roman gods. Instead, they are a powerful, often fractious family of beings who embody the forces of the natural world. They are sometimes called the Tuatha De Danann, the people of the goddess Danu, a mythical race of divine beings who were said to have ruled Ireland before the coming of mortals. These gods were masters of magic, art, warfare, and they eventually retreated into the otherworld, ruling from their hidden palaces within the city mounds. Their roles are deeply intertwined with the cycles of life, death, rebirth. They are not gods who sit on golden thrones, passing judgment from afar. They are active participants in the world. They oversee the growth of crops, the running of the deer, the flow of the rivers, and the changing of the seasons. They can bring great blessings, a bountiful harvest, a healthy child, a moment of poetic inspiration. But they can also bring destruction, a failed crop, a sudden illness, a devastating flood. Their actions are often as unpredictable and untamable as nature itself, reflecting the beautiful and terrifying realities of the world they govern. These deities are complex and multifaceted, never simply good or evil. A god who provides healing might also demand a heavy price. A goddess of fertility could also be a fearsome warrior who presides over the battlefield. At the heart of the Celtic pantheon lies the powerful figure of the Mother Goddess. She is one of the most beloved and enduring deities, a source of life and nourishment. She is fundamentally linked to the earth itself, the fertile soil, the life-giving rivers, the sacred wells that dot the landscape. People would come to her for help with childbirth, for abundance in their fields, for the promise of a good harvest. Her power is not one of fire and fury, but of calm, deep, and inexhaustible strength. In many ways, she is seen as the mother of both gods and mortals, the primal source from which all life emerges. This great goddess appears under many names and in many forms. Danu, Anu, Paps of Anu, County Kerry, Matrona, Gaul. Regardless of the name, her essence remains the same. She is the sovereign goddess of the land. The health of the kingdom was often seen as a reflection of the king's relationship with her. If the king was just and honorable, the land would flourish. If he was wicked, the land would become barren, a sign of the goddess's displeasure. She was the ultimate arbiter of rightful rule. Brigid is another shining example of the divine feminine. She is a goddess of many talents, patron of poets, patron of healers, patron of smiths. Among the old gods, Cernunno stands as a powerful and enigmatic figure. He is the horned god, often depicted with the antlers of a stag, seated in a cross-legged position. He is the Lord of the forest. He is the protector of animals. He is the guardian of all wild places. His domain is the untamed world beyond the boundaries of human settlement. He represents the primal, instinctual energy of nature. Cernunnos also acts as a guide between the realms, connecting the world of the living with the other world of the spirits. He's a quiet, strong, and ancient presence. A god who asks us to, listen to the rhythms of the wild and to respect the creatures who share our world. In contrast to the wild shadows of the forest, Belenus is a bright god of light and the sun. His name means the Shining One. He brings the warmth of the summer months that allows the crops to grow. He is a god of skill. He is a god of healing. He is a god of prophecy. In some tales, he is seen riding a magnificent horse across the sky. His presence brings fire and energy to both farmers and smiths. Festivals like Beltane, celebrated at the beginning of May, were held in his honor. Great bonfires were lit to welcome the return of the sun's power and to purify the land and cattle. Belenus represents order and clarity. He is the life-giving energy that banishes the darkness of winter. Another important male deity is Lugh, known as the Many-Skilled. He is a master of every art and craft, a brilliant warrior, a gifted poet, a cunning strategist. He is a younger god, but his arrival among the Tuatha De Danann marks a turning point in their history. His story is one of a hero who proves his worth through his incredible array of talents, eventually leading the gods to victory against their enemies, the Fomorians. Lugh represents human potential at its peak, the mastery of skills through dedication and genius. The festival of Lughnasadh, a harvest festival, was named for him, celebrating the fruits of both the land and human labor. The other world is not populated solely by the great gods. It is also home to a vast host of other beings, known in Ireland as the Aos Si, or the people of the mounds. These are the spirits and supernatural entities who share the land with humans. They are often described as being luminously beautiful and dressed in splendid clothes, but they can also be strict, capricious, and dangerous, if not treated with the proper respect. People often refer to them euphemistically as the good neighbors or the fair folk. The AOC are believed to live in invisible palaces within the ancient mounds and hills that dot the Irish countryside. These CD are their strongholds, and from there they emerge to travel through the human world. Especially at liminal times like twilight or on feast days like Samhain and Beltane. They are not always seen, often moving in a soft mist or as a sudden gust of wind. They are the guardians of sacred sites and ancient lore. Stories tell of them hosting grand feasts, sometimes inviting a favored mortal, or of them playing enchanting music that could lure a traveler away for what feels like a night, but is in fact 100 years. Engaging with the Aos Si required a careful set of protocols. It was considered wise to leave out offerings of milk or bread for them, to ensure their goodwill and to protect one's home and livestock. Conversely, it was deeply unwise to disturb their dwellings, to speak ill of them, or to build a house upon one of their pathways. They were fiercely protective of their realm and would not hesitate to punish trespassers or the disrespectful. These punishments range from causing milk to sour, to leading a traveler astray, to stealing a human child and leaving a changeling. The relationship between humans and the AOC was one of wary coexistence. They were a constant reminder that the world was shared territory and that humans were not its sole masters. The lore of the other world is rich with tales of mortals who crossed the veil. These journeys were rarely simple adventures. They were profound, life-altering tests of character. Heroes would venture into the other world to seek great wisdom, to find a supernatural spouse, to win a magical prize, a cauldron of plenty, a sword of light. These quests demanded more than just physical strength. A hero had to be brave, but also courteous. They had to be cunning, but also honest. The rules of the other world were strict and often strange, and breaking them could lead to dire consequences. A hero might be trapped forever or transformed into something other than human. One famous tale is that of Oisin, a warrior poet of the Fianna. He fell in love with Niamh of the golden hair. She was from Tir na Nog and invited him to the land of youth. He agreed and lived in blissful timelessness. What felt to him like 3 short years was in fact 300 years in the mortal world. When a wave of homesickness finally compelled him to return, Niamh warned him not to let his feet touch the soil of Ireland. He rode a magical horse back, but as he leaned down to help some men move a stone, the saddle girth broke. He fell to the earth and instantly aged 300 years, turning into a frail old man. This story beautifully illustrates the other world's different relationship with time. A single night spent feasting in a fairy mound could be a century in the mortal world. A hero might go there and return to find everyone they ever knew long dead. Or, like Oshin, they might be preserved in a state of eternal youth only to have it stripped away in an instant. This concept of time's fluidity was a source of both wonder and sorrow. It was the promise of eternal life, but also the threat of complete alienation from one's own world. The land of youth offered a powerful gift, but it came at the cost of everything one left behind. The influence of the old gods in the other world did not vanish with the arrival of new beliefs. Instead, it became woven into the fabric of the culture, its echoes persisting in folklore traditions, the very landscape itself. The gods did not disappear, they simply changed their clothes. Many of their attributes were absorbed into the stories of Christian saints. The goddess Brigid, with her association with fire, healing, and poetry, was seamlessly transformed into Saint Brigid of Kildare, one of Ireland's most beloved saints. Her sacred wells and the festival of Imbolc continue to be honored, preserving an ancient connection under a new name. The old ways of showing respect also lingered in simple, everyday rituals. Farmers continued to make offerings at harvest time, giving thanks for the bounty of the land. People would leave a bit of milk or food out for the good neighbors to ensure the safety of their homes and livestock. They would tie ribbons, known as clooties, to the branches of trees near sacred wells, each ribbon representing a prayer or a wish for healing. These small, quiet acts maintained the ancient link to the other world. They were not grand ceremonies, but humble gestures of care and acknowledgement, a recognition that the world was still full of unseen forces. The landscape itself remains a repository of these ancient beliefs. Rivers, hills, and ancient stones still bear the names of the old gods and heroes. To travel through the Irish or Welsh countryside is to travel through a living storybook. Every place has its tale, its connection to a mythical event or a supernatural being. This imbues the land with a profound sense of history and magic. A simple hill is not just a hill, it is a Saidi mound, the palace of a fairy king. A spring is not just a source of water, it is a gateway to the other world. The stories keep the land alive and sacred. Today, these echoes are still felt. The stories of the other world continue to inspire artists, writers, and musicians. New generations are discovering the tales of Cernunnos, Lug, and the Tuatha De Danann, finding in them a powerful connection to nature and a different way of seeing the world. In the end, the Celtic otherworld, whether called Tír na nÓg or Annwn, offers us more than just a collection of fanciful tales. It provides a map of the soul and a blueprint for living with wonder. It reminds us that there is more to reality than what we can measure and see that a deeper, more magical world exists just at the edge of our perception. The gods are not perfect celestial beings. They are as flawed and passionate as humans, and as wild and unpredictable as nature. They reflect the world as it is. Beautiful, terrifying, profoundly mysterious, light, shadow. Learning these stories teaches us a forgotten kind of care. It encourages us to treat the land not as a resource to be exploited, but as a sacred entity to be respected. It asks us to see the divine in a bubbling spring, a silent grove of trees, and an ancient moss-covered hill. The tales teach us patience, courage, and the importance of keeping our promises. They show us that help can come from the most unexpected places, and that a small act of kindness to a stranger might be an encounter with a god in disguise. They remind us that we are part of a much larger, interconnected web of life. The journey to the other world is also a powerful metaphor for the journey inward. It is an invitation to explore the hidden landscapes of our own consciousness. It suggests that within each of us, there are bright plains of joy and shadowed forests of sorrow. There are sleeping giants of potential and wise guides waiting to be heard. To embark on a quest into the other world is to embark on a quest for self-knowledge, truth, humility, and the courage to face what we find in the deepest parts of ourselves. The other world is a map of the human heart,